Arsenal and Liverpool have just faced off in a game at the Emirates, which ended up finishing 2-2. In this video, we'll have a look at how both managers set up tactically, analysing how Arteta managed to exploit weaknesses in Liverpool's press, and see if Liverpool were lucky to get the late equaliser. So we'll start by having a look at Arsenal when they had the ball. Arsenal didn't build up from goal kicks in the really pretty, symmetrical shape you'd maybe expect them to build up in, and instead, what you could maybe describe as a bit of a lopsided back four, with Raya acting as the left centre-back and Gabriel moving further out wide into this sort of left-back position, with Partey staying wide on this side. You then had both Rice and Merino on the edge of the box acting as a double pivot, and then you had the front four all really high up, occupying the back four of Liverpool, with using Raya as the +1 in the build-up. This meant Timber on the left-hand side was completely free, as the front four of Liverpool were pressing the back four of Arsenal, and Arsenal could find plenty of joy playing out from the back by finding the free man and looking to drive up the pitch from here. Liverpool pressed Arsenal from goal kicks in the same 4-2-4 shape that Arne Slot's been using all season, with both the wingers for Liverpool really high up and narrow alongside the front two to make this four, and the two-man midfield of Gravenberch and McAllister, and the main aim was to stop Arsenal playing passes into these pivots there, and that was the front two's job, to apply pressure on the play with the ball, whilst also shadow marking the pivot behind them so the ball couldn't get through. When the ball went wide, that was then the trigger for the wide player of the Liverpool press to apply pressure and try and force the ball back where it came from. As I mentioned in my video on Liverpool versus Chelsea, this press isn't without its many problems, and Arsenal really tried to exploit these in this game. One of these problems that I mentioned was the really passive nature of the Liverpool centre-backs in this press. So when a player does drop a little bit deeper, they aren't followed by the centre-back, and instead stay there in line with the rest of the defence. So what Arsenal did in this early build-up was drop Havertz all the way out wide here onto this flank, and he wasn't followed by the centre-back, and with Saka positioned high up on this side, Robertson couldn't come out to him either as he was pinned back by Saka. This put Liverpool in a difficult position on knowing what to do to counter this, as one, albeit tricky ball out wide to Havertz could free him in lots of space to drive forward, or, and what happened quite often, was McAllister on this side was drawn all the way out wide to Havertz, meaning this pass wasn't really on anymore. But then what we saw was Trossard dropping really deep in here, again not followed by Van Dijk or Konate, one of the centre-backs. And because of this space opened up by McAllister moving out wide, Trossard had all this space centrally for Raya to pick out a ball through to him, and from here he could drive in lots of space at the two centre-backs, with wingers either side of him. And a very similar trend occurred when Arsenal moved a little bit higher up the pitch. Raya continued to be part of this back four, with Timber or sometimes Merino pushing up into this left half space here, and the other one sitting in as this double pivot alongside Rice. But again, what you could see throughout the game was players constantly dropping out wide for Arsenal, drawing across the midfielder for Liverpool, opening up a massive space centrally for another Arsenal player to drop and receive the ball through the lines. And through this, Arsenal could constantly break through Liverpool's press, and especially in the first half, could really create some quality chances. Another problem Liverpool faced was with the front two being so focused on blocking passes through to these pivots, we weren't very intense in terms of applying pressure onto the two centre-backs here, giving them plenty of time on the ball, which I suppose Liverpool thought was the lesser of two evils. But this decision was costly, as it did lead to the first goal for Arsenal from Saka, as White was given plenty of time on the ball before playing a lovely pass over the top of the Liverpool high line for Saka to run onto and finish. And actually after this point, Liverpool seemed a lot more willing to come out and apply pressure on the centre-backs, which caused them a different problem, which was similar to the Chelsea game which we discussed, passes were able to be played through to the double pivot, which is what Liverpool wanted to avoid in the first place. And this combined with other problem which we mentioned, with the Liverpool midfield being split across the pitch, opening up this big gap centrally. When a ball did get through to the pivot, they had all this space to run into and could free one of the Arsenal front line. And then finally, when Arsenal were in settled possession higher up the pitch, they moved into their classic 3-2-5 shape, this time with Partey coming in from right back, inverting into the midfield alongside Rice, and usually Merino pushing up into this left channel here. And in the first half, Arsenal managed to create plenty of quality chances from here, especially with Saka on the right hand side, giving Robertson a really tough time at left back. But now let's move on to how Liverpool set up in possession. So Liverpool built up from goal kicks in what was pretty much a 4-3-3, both the fullbacks deep and wide, and the centre-back split between the goalkeeper. The front three stayed really narrow, so when they could get on the ball, they could quickly combine and look to get through the Arsenal back four. Now, I was trying to work out how Arsenal were pressing Liverpool from goal kick for quite a while, but they actually weren't pressing man-to-man, and instead left the back four to deal with the Liverpool front three, leaving an extra man to deal with Núñez. But with having an extra man at the back, it left them a man light higher up the pitch, and I thought a lot of the game Liverpool won the midfield battle because of this. What it looked like to me was that Arsenal were relying on a lot of communication and passing over their marker to their teammates in order to maintain this press. When Liverpool took their goal kick, Havertz initially pressed the centre-back and forced him back towards their goalkeeper, then cutting off this passing lane here. As this was done, Trossard was blocking the pass through to Gravenberch in the pivot, forcing him wide to Van Dijk. Then Trossard jumped on Van Dijk, whilst either Rice or Merino picked up Gravenberch in the middle, leaving either McAllister or Jones free. However, a lot of the time Liverpool did manage to break through, able to find McAllister with a pass through, whilst Rice has moved on to Gravenberch, or if Rice was too slow to move on to Gravenberch, a pass could be played straight through to the pivot and able to turn from here. And Liverpool found a lot of joy getting through the Arsenal press in this way due to being 3 versus 2 in the midfield. After beating the initial press, Liverpool moved into their normal 3-1-6 shape, with Trent on the right hand side having this free role to move central or to stay out wide and allow Salah to come inside and play central. Arsenal dropped into their really compact 4-4-2, which has been so effective the last couple of seasons. And I actually thought for the most part of the game, Liverpool were really quite poor on the ball, not being able to carve out many quality chances. The momentum of this game did change though, when Gabriel went off injured and was replaced by Kivior in the back line. And I think from here the game changed completely, Liverpool having the large share of possession, Arsenal completely dropping off. And ultimately it took one ridiculous ball from Trent over the top of the Arsenal back line, really unlock that Arsenal block and get Liverpool the equalising goal. Overall though, I think a 2-2 draw was a fair result, based on the fact that Arsenal really did drop off in the second half and couldn't create anything more in the second half. But in terms of how both managers set up their teams, I think Arteta was really able to exploit the many problems of Liverpool's press, very similar to how Chelsea did last weekend. But as Big Sam would say, I think Slot was out-tacticked in that first half by Arteta, and was quite lucky Arsenal didn't make him pay for it more in the second half. But just like against Chelsea, Liverpool really had the quality to convert their chances when it mattered, and ultimately saved them a point.